Reactions have continued to trail a call earlier in the week by Chief Afe Babalola, senior advocate of Nigeria, for the suspension of the 2023 general election and the installation of an interim government. The senior lawyer had told a press conference that in the face of the myriad of challenges facing the country against preparations for those elections, the government should resort to postponement, put its house in order, and then find a new date for the polls. But some members of the legal community and the pan-Yoruba socio-political group Afenifere, among other stakeholders, say there was a need for a new constitution, adding that having an interim government in place would not augur well for the country. Joining us now to speak more on his call for the suspension of next year's elections and the installation of an interim government, as well as other issues on the front burner of national discourse, is legal luminary and senior advocate of Nigeria, Chief Afe Babalola. Great to have you on the program, sir. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Happy to be on your television.
We're certainly delighted to have you. Thank you for taking out the time to be with us here on Newsday.
Thank you.
Now, we'll start.
Good.
Of course. Chief, you recently called for the postponement of the 2023 elections and advocated the installation of an interim national government. Imo Governor Hope Uzodinma and Senator Shehu Sani have kicked against it. Uzodinma says it's a call to anarchy. Is it democratic? And what informed this decision?
Well, thank you very much indeed. Apart from those two giants whose names you mentioned, the governor and the other man, I listened to television, and I read papers, and I found that more than 1,000 people have reacted to my call. And I believe that over 90% of these people are in agreement with me. In other words, they believe that we have reached a stage where we need a new constitution. Look, as far back as 2001, I had addressed an organization in Port Harcourt advocating that we need a new constitution because this constitution, one, does not represent the interests of the people. Two, it was not made by the people. When I say that, I want to refer briefly to the 1999 Constitution preamble, which says, Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999. We, the people of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, having firmly and solemnly resolved, now hereby make and give to ourselves the following constitution. Well, all readers will agree with me that they were not consulted when this constitution was made. It is fraud. And I know as a fact, and I know that in law, any document which is fraudulent is null and void, or at least voidable. Voidable in the sense that we have been acting on it in spite of that. I'm aware that there's a suit in court now challenging the validity of this constitution. That is by the way. There is also provided in the same constitution, section 14, paragraph B, which says, the Federal Republic of Nigeria shall be a state where the security and welfare of the people shall be the primary purpose of government. And I repeat, the security and welfare of the people shall be the primary purpose of government. You are there listening to me. Security has broken down. The welfare of the people, of course, you know what that means. There's poverty everywhere. We are rated as the worst, the worst, the poorest capital of the world. That's contrary to what the constitution says. I'm worried about it. And all those who commented, I thank them, particularly those who agree with me. And I also thank the two people you mentioned for their comment. But apparently they didn't have full knowledge of my speech particularly on the security and the poverty and unemployment going on in the country today. I know as a father that years back, before independence, the white man came here and found as a father there was no poverty in this country. In this country. And when I was born, there was no poverty in this country. When I was growing up, there was no poverty in this country. Even when we had the self-government between 1950 and 1960, there was no poverty. In the first 6 years after independence, when we had a truly federal institution and the parliamentary system of government, there was no poverty. The thing has assumed such a dimension that people like me, who knew what were then, who also believed that things would develop better, should normally be worried about what is happening. It is for this reason that I've written several articles. As far back as 1965, I've been writing articles, first in the Sketch, later in other papers like Vanguard and Tribune, every week. I'm not concerned about myself. I'm concerned about the future of the world. I would not have been able to make it the way I've made it if Nigeria was like this. I read at home, in primary schools where there were no doors, no electricity. We used lantern to read at home for BSc or all my degrees. If you do that nowadays, you'll be kidnapped. I have a teacher here who is a farmer. He used to supply us with rice every Christmas. Now he said he can't supply us this year. Why? Because his neighbor had been kidnapped. So all these are going on. And I said, look, what do we do now? I have addressed letters and to those concerned, including the Honor of Ife and so on, to let us look for a way of getting the parliament, our legislators, to fashion out a new constitution. I once suggested ordinary constitution, later a sovereign constitution, but nobody listened to us. Now that election is coming up, everybody's journey again for election next year. And if that happens, we are going to return to the same people who failed to amend the constitution, or in fact replace the constitution, because there's nothing to amend. So now the constitution is even not, as I said, not our own constitution. It was not made by me, but by you. So let us have a new constitution. I still insist that that's the only way out. The root cause of our problem today is the constitution.
Now, since the present political system, Chief Afe Babalola, since the present political system in operation is anchored on the 1999 Constitution as amended, and it is yet to be voided, is there any provision in the document to allow for another system of government outside the purview of the Constitution?
A good question. If I did, and many others did, and applied to the legislators to amend and they refuse to amend, the next thing we can do is to ask them to please set up an interim government. This is not a new thing at all. Where the economic situation breaks down as it is today here, where lecturers have not been paid for months, where schools are closed down, where airports are not safe, where airlines are not safe, where security is virtually nil, where poverty is absolutely, where the poorest unemployment is there everywhere. Why not set up an interim government? It is these very people who want to set it up. Because of what? They have not been able to deal with the situation. That was what happened in El Salvador in 1982. The same thing happened in Nepal in 2000. You see, interim governments are created under diverse circumstances, including regime collapse. In this country, there's regime collapse now, or negotiated agreement, or international intervention. We do not want war. We do not want another Biafran war. We don't want the ordinary people to rise and revolt. We don't want students to go around again. Common sense dictates that now that there's collapse of the economy, collapse of security, collapse of Naira, which is today going for almost 500 or more for 1 Naira, which was 1 to 1 when I was young. Don't you think under that collapse, you yourself, these people themselves ought to know that they had failed. These are failed leaders. They have failed to comply with what the Constitution said they should do. Secured the welfare and security of the people. They on their own ought to say, let us have an interim government when we are going away, since we cannot do it. And we are not suggesting just interim government of any type. We are asking that former presidents of this country, former governors, members of civil society, particularly Association of Journalists, of bankers, and so on and so forth, should select people on zero party to come and run the interim government. It's not a new thing. Interim governments are created at different times anywhere in the world. I'm surprised anybody is calling it by interim government. Since they have failed, that to me is the best option now.
Chief, in your recommendation for this setting up of an interim national government, you said membership should comprise previous presidents, vice presidents, ministers, as well as governors, and delegates of prominent professional associations. Now, in your view, how would we go about selecting who exactly heads the collective leadership system of such a situation?
I didn't hear you properly. Last sentence.
I was saying how...
Last sentence?
Yes.
What?
How would we go about the selection process of the person who would be heading this collective leadership system?
Oh, thank you very much indeed. My speech, which was distributed to the papers, specified that out very well. It is very simple. I suggested, among others, that the medical people should have a number, the lawyers should have a number, the journalists to which you belong should have a number. You should select them on zero-party system. So I'm not on party system. I remember when Obasanjo took over, that we had a constitutional conference. That was how we selected members on zero-party system. My own town invited me from Ibadan to be member, and so on and so forth. You select those who are kind, knowledgeable, responsible, and above all, patriotic. What we have today in the House are those, some of them cannot even account for how they came about their wealth. For example, you ask people to come and donate 100 million to contest. Ask how many of them what was their employment before they went to the House? How can they get 100 million? So my own position is very easy and clear because I have the experience and then know what this country is like. I had been offered the ministerial appointment twice. I rejected. I accepted to serve in the University of Lagos because I was the chairman of Transparency International in Nigeria on corruption. And I knew what corruption was there. I never took a cover for 7 years. I got the award as the best pro chancellor of the country. Let them emulate me. We want people like that. And there are people like that who can serve in the interim government, who will not take a kobo for serving, who are good enough, have their own source of finance which can investigate and come out clean. These are the people that we want interim government. It is this very parliament, the House National Assembly, constituting the House of Representatives and the Senate that will select the people, not me. And they know they can get them if they follow my procedure.
Well, Chief, how workable is the proposed interim government given the cacophony of voices clamoring for power shift and zoning? Which zone would produce the next head of the ING?
That is why they are coming up with a new constitution. The new constitution will even spell out the qualifications of those who can ever contest as president or member of any house, as to age, as to university education, as to their previous contribution to community, and the source of their wealth if they have any. These are the people who can run the country.
Now, you had earlier called for a return to the parliamentary system of government to replace the current presidential system.
Correct.
But is it not contradictory to advocate for interim government and parliamentary system almost simultaneously?
No, I think you are getting confused, please. What people are going to do is to fashion out a new constitution, which will then be parliamentary system of government and people's constitution. Don't mix up interim government with the constitution itself. It is interim government which we form as a result of the collapse which we are talking about, that will bring out a new constitution which, among other things, will state those who are qualified to become members of the House. And I gave an idea of the things they should put in the Constitution. The age, the health. You have to be healthy before you can run the government. You should be able to speak on your own, write your own speech. You should be able to work for about 14 hours a day. I worked with President Obasanjo as a lawyer. I knew he was working for 18 hours a day. Not a single file was left on his table for the other day. He will phone to the minister at about 2 a.m. What are you doing? Will you come now? I saw something sent to me just now. Come and explain yourself. That's the sort of thing we want. I worked with him. We were in debt. He went around the whole country. And the debt was... there was allowance given to us, and we're back to normal. What we have today, we are now virtually bankrupt. And what have we done with the loans we took from China? Very soon, it will be another Rwanda, where China will take over Nigeria. And I hope it will not happen. That is why I'm suggesting an interim government, since these people are not ready to form a new constitution. Let them select people, honest people, to give us a new constitution.
Chief Babalola, thank you for that. Just to revisit something that you were discussing earlier, for some of the viewers who weren't able to tune in earlier, how exactly would the interim national government be chosen?
Oh, I thought I've said that. The interim government will consist of all living ex-presidents, some of the governors, then you go to societies, individual societies, like the medicine, like law, NBA, accountancy, ASU, and so on, who will select members on merit on zero-party system. And we will have a house of intelligent, brilliant Nigerians. I do not know how any of my professors, my university, which is recognized as the best in the country today, can become a member of any house. When you ask them to come and pay 100 million before they can, they can register for election. So this is how we want to elect them. People are listening to me, and I'm sure many people will write to you to agree that they agree with what I'm suggesting in the interest of this country. Look, there's nothing I want in this life which I have not got. I developed myself to what I am today, and I have one of the best universities recognized internationally and nationally. My students are doing well. I want Nigerians to do well. I want Nigerians to be educated. I want Nigerians to have employment. I want Nigerians to be able to go to where I want to go at any time, by air, by road, or by plane, in any way we want. You hear recently of how a first-class train was bombed. You hear recently about how airport was bombed. You hear recently of how many people are attacked on the roads and taken away. Is that what the country, what the government, the people in the house, therefore? And look, recently the House of Reps knew this and even asked Buhari to resign. Said, don't let him resign. Let him wait.
Chief
Babalola, let us wait and.
Pardon me if I...
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. We can hear you clearly. Thank you so much for your patience and for doing justice to this topic. But at this time, I'd like us to go into specifics, please. Can you highlight what mechanisms specifically will be used for the selection of these professionals, doctors, lawyers, as you've highlighted? We would like to go into detail, please.
Okay, let us take the Nigerian bar association as an example. If the interim government gives them 4 slots, the NBA will meet and then select 4 on the basis of 0-party system. You don't belong to any party. You belong to NBA. You're going to represent NBA. Then they will select the 4. It is interim government that will give out the number of people to be selected by each organization. Is that okay?
That's definitely okay. Thank you so much for your patience. And Temitope has the next question for you. Thank you so much.
Now, you cited the current 1999 Constitution as amended as being defected. And you also said that if it is used for the 2023 election, it will lead to recycling of the same old people. Now, my question is, which areas in the Constitution do you think needs to be amended? And is the National Assembly incapable of making such amendments?
Well, so far, I do not believe in amendment. You don't amend something which is fraudulent. This Constitution is fraud on you and me. I've read it out to you. That they said we agree. I never agreed with. I was never part of it. Look, if a woman goes to court, obtains certificate of marriage without the boyfriend's knowledge, he can carry it about, but it's a fraudulent certificate of marriage. Is that not correct? If an agreement is made that you and your boyfriend or your man, your husband, buy a piece of land, and as a matter of fact, you do not know anything about the agreement, you can say, I'm not interested. So that is as far as that constitution is concerned. To me, you cannot amend this one. Let us have a new constitution to which all of us will have a say, like the one we did in 1960. Let us have a say in the Constitution. Let me have a say in it. Those of you in AIT talking to me should have a say in it. Then it will be binding on us. An agreement made by some people to which you are not a party is void. or at least voidable in law. So you can't amend what is fraudulent. Simple.
Chief, you raised the issue of the mounting national debt, especially the foreign component that, has skyrocketed from $10.7 billion to $38 billion today. Does this amount to a vote of no confidence on the current administration's management of our nation's economy?
Absolutely correct. It's absolutely correct that I do not know what this money was used for. You do not know what it's used for. Things are getting worse every day, and yet we do not have the means of even paying the annual interest. So when you there's nothing wrong in taking a loan. I've taken a loan before to complete a house, and when the house was completed, I rented it out. I paid the bank because I have the means of paying it back. But when you take loan and you use it either to pay salaries, I don't know how do you want to get it back? Nigerians' revenue is dwindling every day. People don't go to the farm. Benin used to be the bedrock of farm products in Nigeria. They don't go to the farm. Why do you want to pay this debt? And you are taking debt every day. You are accumulating debt. That, to me, is not possible. This is the more reason why these people in the House of Assembly and Legislature should sit down and suggest an interim government. There's nothing wrong in that. It's permissible. They can do so. The law allows it.
Chief Babalola, I'd like to thank you for your patience so far. Thank you so much for joining us on Arise News. We still have more questions for you, if you will oblige us here on Arise News. Now, Bishop Matthew Kuka of Sokoto,
go ahead.
Thank you so much. Bishop Matthew Kuka of Sokoto Diocese recently accused the President Muhammadu Buhari of running the country aground. Do you share in his sentiments?
Well, it is not Buhari that ran it aground. It is the government. And the government consists Buhari, the vice president, the ministers, the members of the House of Legislature and the House and the House of Senate. So when you put them together, and Nigeria is what it is, all of them are to blame, not Buhari alone.
Well, Chief Afe Babalola, I'm going to take you back to how we are going to set up this interim government. Who will actually, choose the component of this interim national government? Is it going to be by election or by selection? How exactly are we going to go about putting the interim national government together?
Oh, I've said it. I will answer it. It's not by selection. It is not by election. It is zero-party system. A zero-party system means this. The head, the organization that is NBA, for instance, the NBA would sit and then invite people who are interested. Then they will look at them, and on the basis of that, they select one. That's zero party. I give an example. I am an example of those who had been elected on zero party. I was sitting at Ibadan, practicing my law, and I was sent for by the Royal Highness, the Igwe of Adekiti, that the government, Babasujo government, wanted somebody to represent them and at the Constituent Assembly on zero party system. We have considered all of you who are needs of Ado. To us, you are the best. I didn't select myself. I didn't apply. If I rejected, I went to my mother. My mother said, okay, go and agree. I agreed. If you are the best in your department there, those who will select you won't even tell you when they will say you are the person to go. Because they watch you. Everybody watches you. They know the type of person you are. They know whether you are greedy or not. They know whether you are quarrelsome or not. They know the qualities and whether you are kind or not, and whether you are patriotic or not, and they know what you have contributed to the community. even your in your small way, you are generous or not. So they put all these qualities together, then it elect you. That's the basis.
Chief, this zero-party system that you have been discussing, a lot of our viewers are tuned in and they're quite interested in exactly the mechanics of how it would work. Who would be the person convening the system? Would it be the government? Would it be Buhari? Or would it be somebody else? And under what law would it be run?
That was where the governor of Imo State was wrong when he said it will be they will be selected by the president. I didn't say they will be selected by the president. They are still in power. They have the power to direct how a new constitution can be made. The general one is to hold what we call national conference, which I don't like. There's another one called Sovereign National Conference, which they refuse. People can set up their own committee now and say, look, let us say we are going away in the next few months. It is too late now to make a new constitution. So let us step up an interim government, because, as I said earlier, our regime had failed the country economically, politically, security-wise, and so on and so forth. So let us look at a legacy of the fact that we are still interested in our people. We ask the people to let us have an interim government. They are the people to select the people. They and the president will pass the law and they select it. It's very easy. It's had been done in other countries, in over 300 countries. But latest, which to me is really relevant, are the cases of Salvador in 1992 and Nepal in 2000. It's a recent thing. It's done everywhere. It's something new. Where there's a collapse like we have here, we should have the courage. We should be good enough to say, let us have an interim government to run this country so that we do not have a total breakdown of Nigeria, a total collapse of Nigeria, which will be very bad for everybody. And we may lead to civil unrest. I watched, and I was alive during the Biafran War. I knew what it was. We do not want such a thing in this country.
Well, Chief Babalola, thank you again for how patient you've been in explaining the details of this. But I would like to ask at this point, what would the enabling law be, and who would pass this law?
Answer is the present legislature. That, as a matter of fact, the House of Reps is on the way to that in a way, because they were, for example, asking the president to resign, which was wrong to me, was unnecessary, instead of looking for solution. They complained about the insecurity in the state. They invited the president, which was very courageous of them. The House of Reps is doing very well. And I'm sure with what I've said, they will certainly go into action and cause the Senate to join them in putting into motion how to select people for the interim government. It lasts for just about 6 months. They give them time limit, they give them conditions, tell them exactly what they want them to do and what they have to achieve. As I said, they should tell them precisely that what they want is how they can achieve a true federal constitution for this country based on parliamentary system of government. Because the so-called executive government does not suit a country of nations like Nigeria. There was no Nigeria until 1884 Berlin Conference, after which it was on blackboard, it mapped out this area belongs to Britain. And that's what you have, Niger area, which contains nations, different cultures, different religions, different ideas of life. And that's where we have the problem. And this people realized this in 1960 when gave us their own constitution and different regions, with different regions, their own their premier of each region. There was no executive president then. And things were moving very well. Western region was ahead of every of the three regions. The other regions were copying Western region. If things had been left at that, if there had been no intervention by Fair Junior in the 1965 military, the Western region would have caught up with Britain today at the rate we were going. After all, didn't I leave the University of Lagos only about 12 years ago? Look at the university I've established. Has not caught up with universities all over the world. So the Western region would have achieved that exactly.
Chief Afe Babalola, the interim national government is unknown to the Constitution. So would it not amount to a coup setting up an interim national government?
No. No.
I mean,
because
setting it up right now, would it not amount to a coup right now?
No, they have a right to make any law under the Constitution, under the very Constitution, whether it's fraudulent or not. They are empowered to make laws. And part of the law they can make is the law to say we want a new Constitution which will be set up by the interim government. It's not a coup at all. It's consistent.
Okay, then.
If you look at the Constitution, it allows the government to make any law in respect of the country, particularly in respect to the welfare of the people and security of the people. So, if they are making laws about security and welfare, how can that be a coup?
All right. Well,
that was why I laughed when the governor of Imo said this anarchy. I don't know what it means by anarchy. That is, there will be trouble. I don't know what trouble when the lawmakers make a law that is what they want. The interim government will run the country for the period because it is a law made by the National Assembly by itself.
All right. Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Chief Afe Babalola, thank you so much for coming on to the program this afternoon. We really enjoyed this discussion and we hope to have you back sometime soon.